everyone, and welcome to Rock Report. Here we host commodity experts and company CEOs to give our audience a good foundation in their research and due diligence. Before I announce my guest, please take a few seconds of your time to read the disclaimer and, of course, subscribe to our channel. And my guest today is Ronne Hamerslag, who is the CEO of Nordic Iron Ore, a Swedish mining company focused on resuming high-grade iron ore production in the Ludvika area. Ron, thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you, Lucian. Nice to be here.
I look forward to talk with you about iron ore because, frankly, that is an area where I don't know much. That is where I would like to start a bit. If you can educate me and my followers and subscribers about the iron ore market today. How big is the market? How is the supply-demand picture looking? Some price projections. Give me some color on the iron ore market.
Yeah, what's happening now in the iron ore market is a very interesting turnover transition of the iron ore market. You know, the main iron making and steel making route today is the blast furnace. Blast furnaces has been around for thousands of years. They are nearly driven to perfection as of today. The blast furnace, however, has a huge drawback, and that is that it's emitting a lot of carbon dioxide. So there's a big transition ongoing in the steel industry to make, so to say, low carbon steels and different kind of flavors, fossil-free steels, whatever you go. That, however, requires a much higher grade or iron content in your input feed into that process, regardless if you do direct reduction with hydrogen, natural gas, or in any other process that are under development. The cleaner the input material are, the lower energy it's going to consume and the less carbon it's going to emit or eventually be fossil free. So there's a shift that will come up in the market in a few years from now. Exactly when it's going to happen is not totally clear, but of course the transition has been started. There are several projects, mainly around in Europe, focusing on doing these low carbon steel versions. And as said, those require higher input grade from the iron ore. Especially above 66-67%, there's a huge shortage in the global market on those very high grade products. At Nordic Iron, we aim to produce something around 68-69, so that's really going to be on the top end of the global market. At the same time, there is so to say an alumina problem growing in the world, because a lot of the good iron ore deposits have been mined for decades are kind of depleting from the high grade into more alumina silica grade. So globally there's also alumina problem, so to say, and alumina is something you don't want to have in your iron ore. And what we have in the Ludvika region is the possibility to mine a very good iron ore deposit with high level of magnetite. Magnetite is a magnetic part of the iron ore, so you use magnetic separation to bring your concentrate. And magnetic separation is very efficient and it's very good, so you get a very clean and very high grade concentrate compared to the others that are hematite, that you need to have some gravimetric separation. So in a nutshell, the transition is ongoing. The race for high grade iron ore deposits or possible high-grade concentrates, it's ongoing, and that's where we are focusing on the Nordic Iron.
Sure. Which countries are the biggest producers in the world? From where is it coming the most material to the markets?
Yeah, if you look globally now, Australia is really the big iron ore mining country in the world. I think something like 55-60% of all today's iron ore is coming from Australia, or more or less in the Pilbara region in Australia. That is mainly hematite deposit, so it's a very good, so to say, low cost operation, hematite and everything. But those iron ores will not be suitable for really the high grade fossil free reduced reduction in the process as we know them as of today.
Yeah, when you mine your material, do you find any byproducts, any other elements, any other metals as a byproduct?
We have in the Ludvika region, we have what is called a Kiruna type of iron ore. So it's an iron ore apatite oxide. So there's phosphates. Apatite is a phosphate material. which also is believed to carry some rare earths. So we hope to be able to extract maybe both a phosphate byproduct concentrate, high level of phosphorus and high level of rare earths. Of course, for us, the phosphorus and rare earths will always be so to say a kind of icing on the cake, and not really being the big business. We need to get the iron ore operation going, and then in the tailing stream, we hope to be able to catch enough phosphate material to produce a byproduct where we can earn some extra money, or actually convert a tailing streams or deposit stream into something that we can sell instead.
Sure. Let's talk about your company, about Nordic Iron. Where are your projects situated? What is the development stage of the project? And some key highlights, if you can mention here.
Yes, the Ludvika region is, so to say, not far up north in Sweden. It's roughly 200 kilometers northwest from Stockholm, so it's not far up. This is really the heart of the Swedish iron industry, iron and steel making back 1,000-1,500 years ago. So it's called Bergslagen, and there are multiple of old mine sites that was abandoned during the 70s and the 80s in this area due to the depleting, or the not because the ore is depleting, but the market prices was going down in the 70s and 80s, the oil crisis and all those kind of things. So there are a lot of good ore still around in the Bergslagen region. And especially then around Ludvika, there has been mining up to 79 in Blötberget and Håksberg mines, and also in a field in between. So there's a good level of magnetite, as I said, in this body, which could have good magnetite separation. Something between 2/3 up to 80% magnetite in the ratio to the hematite. It's a very good location. It's just 10 minutes outside Ludvika, which contains roughly 26,500 inhabitants. So we have a good relationship with the municipality, and there's a good access to workforce. We have the train, the railroad goes down to the port of Oxelösund. So that's also a tremendous advantage with having a very good logistics. So we will more or less build the beneficiation plant on the railroad, so to say, not really on the railroad, but we will have an industrial track and loading track, the beneficiation plant, and bring up the ore really next to the railroad, and then bring it down to the port of Oxelösund and ship it from there.
Yeah, so you're in a phase of restarting mining operations. Walk me through the process. What you need to achieve to start the operation, and of course the financing part. Do you need money to start that? Of course, you probably do, like every other mine project. So walk me through the process and the finance picture of restarting the operations.
Yeah, going back roughly 2 years. I mean, 2 years ago we signed a big offtake contract with Cargill Metals. Cargill is one of the biggest trader of iron ore in the market, physical iron ore, and also steel products. So we made an offtake agreement with Cargill back in 2023. So we have, so to say, sold 25 million tons of our future production of the ultra high grade iron ore concentrate. So basically we have, so to say, a customer waiting for the supply. Last year we raised roughly 50 million US to do an updated feasibility study, do some more exploration, and start to build the organization ahead of a really project financing and construction start. So what we're doing right now are basically those three things. We're updating the study on the design, what is then feasible to produce, to bring up the good economics for the project. We have done very good exploration ongoing. We have hit more ore to the depth. In the previous mining, they have mined out, so to say, in Blötberget the first 320 meters. So we know that there's a good iron ore deposit from 320 and downwards to 820. But now we have in exploration programs shown that there is possibly then ore below this 820 meter level down to maybe 11, 1200, 1300 meters. So that exploration is ongoing. So if we can extend the ore body to the depth, we're going to have a massive improvement of the project and the economic measurements of the project.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and of course we are building the organization, recruiting some people. We have brought in new responsible person for technology, project, environmental, permitting, logistics, and all those kind of things. So we hope to be able to do a project financing within the next years, and then we can start the construction of the mine and be in production a couple of years after that.
Okay, got it. How big will the production be? Do you have any numbers of projections of the future revenue stream and the ore that you will mine?
As said a bit, we are in this exploration. I mean, if we look back a couple of years ago, there was a study done in 2019 by Golder Associates. Then they brought up in total 34 million tons of reserves and a production of 1.5-ish million tons of concentrate per year. But that is what we are reviewing right now. I mean, are those technology selections they did in 2019, are they up to date with current technologies? Exploration results we are doing right now indicates a bigger ore reserves than the 34 million tons. Too early to say what numbers. The permit we have in the company since 2014 allow us to mine 3 million tons, which roughly corresponds to 1.6 million tons of concentrate. So that's the baseline, so to say. So if you look in the global scale, it's not a huge project, I know that. But there is, as I said, the ore is open to the depth, and we have multiple sites or deposits next to it. So we need to get the first phase going, and then we can expand and build for that. So the balance act now is to do enough exploration and identify mineral resources and reserves so we can get the first phase financed. If it's too small, we cannot finance it. If it's too big, so to say, then we have spent too much money in the startup phase. So we need to find the right balance, and that is what we are trying to do right now.
Yeah, it's always about balance in life, just like in mining. What you mentioned permits. What permits do you need to obtain before the first production?
Basically, the company has an environmental permit in 2014 that has been extended 2024, so now we have it until 2034. We have an approval of the power. We have an agreement with the railroad or the authorities for the railroad. So basically, all of those kind of permitting is set. Having said that, if we do bigger changes of the design and the project and all that, there might be implication of the total power we need, or updates of the environmental permit, or change the amount of trains going on the railroad. So we have a basic approval for basic design that was planned 2019. If we do major changes to that, there might be changes in those kind of permitting as well, but it's too early to say.
Sure, sure. Your company emphasizes modern, sustainable mining practices, such as an electric fleet to reduce carbon emissions. Can you elaborate on specific technologies or innovations that you are adopting to achieve these goals?
Yeah, I mean, we are targeting to have a very, so to say, low carbon emitting iron ore product, or we don't believe that we can go be a fossil-free iron ore mine. I mean, that is very optimistic to go down to really zero. But if we can be below 10 kilo of carbon dioxide emitted per tons of iron ore concentrate in the port, then we are really good off. In Sweden, we have a very good electrical grid. It's very green power. And the train from Ludvika down to the port of Oxelösund is an electric train. So we will have a very good, so to say, support from the train transport. Everything in the site is going to be electrified. I mean, the beneficiation plant is electric. We don't know exactly how to do the mining operation yet. Do we go with battery electric equipment, maybe from one of the biggest suppliers in Sweden? You know, they work a lot with battery electric. But we also looked into see if we can replace some of the fuels with hydrogen, possibly local produced hydrogen, maybe within our own site. So we could use hydrogen as replacement for propane or natural gas, or even diesel in some of the equipment, if the grid is not sufficient to do a fully electrified operation.
Yeah, you mentioned here the infrastructure here, the railroad. What about water? What about the roads? Are they adjacent to the property or nearby?
Yes, I mean we have Ludvika, as I tried to say earlier. Ludvika are just 10 minutes away from Ludvika. Ludvika is situated very good for us. There's a Highway 50 and Highway 66 going into the Ludvika, so it's easy for people to communicate and we can have transportation. The railroad passes by really next to our industrial area, which we have got approved by the municipality. So the railroad and the roads are really there. We will not have so much road transportation. I mean, the bulk of the material are going to go by rail, especially outbound the concentrate. But if we have heavy goods coming into the site, it's going to be by railroad as well.
Yeah,
You have the Westman Lake, so there are availability to water, but at the same time, there are some waterland and water bodies in this region. So we hope to be more or less self-contained with water from this area, from some of the rivers, upstream rivers going down to the Westman Lake. If that is not sufficient, we have in the permit an allowance to bring water from the Westman Lake to the site. But that is something we also are reviewing. We have an ambition right now to be, so to say, a closed water system. So we don't emit anything to the nearby water bodies, or we don't need to bring water from the Westman Lake. And we have also in the old mining infrastructure, there is a lot of water, groundwater that has been leaking in, so to say, over the decades into that. So we might be able to use that as a water reservoir with the groundwater continuously leaking into that old mining infrastructure.
okay. Ron, how is the support for this project? I mean, both local and state support. Do you have any hurdles with regards to supporting your project?
No, I mean this, as I said in the beginning, this is really, so to say, the old mining areas in Sweden, the Bergslagen. So people has grown up with a lot of the mines, steelworks, ironworks. So in general, there's a very positive population in the surroundings. We have a good relationship with the municipality, the county administrative board as well. We don't have any support in terms of financing as of now, but that is something we will discuss further on, because there are a lot of, so to say, funds that might be possible to apply for when you do a fossil-free operation, when you extract rare earths and so forth. But we haven't focused on that, on the money part yet. Myself, I was meeting a lot of the local population just a couple of months ago, and it was a really good discussion, a lot of questions. I got one negative question, and that was, why does it take so long to get into operation? So that was the only negative question I got. So this is really Bergslagen is really a region in Sweden where you are built up, you are brought up with mines, you know the mines, you have grandfathers or things like that have been working in the mine. You remember back in the days in the 60s, 70s, and some mines were operating until the 80s. I mean, so a lot of people remain in that kind of good times for this region, and they wanted to come back with a restart or resuming of mining operation in this area.
Sure. Ron, as someone with a background in metallurgy and materials technology, how do you balance technical expertise with strategic leadership in your role?
I mean, I've been around in different industries. I mean, as you said, I'm a metallurgist and material science for training. I started up in the steel industry, worked with Ovako Steel. I also worked with ABB doing some high voltage ceramic materials. And after a couple of years, I also was in the IT telecom space with Ericsson doing a lot of product management, business development. So I've been around in a lot of, so to say, business strategic positions as well as the more production and metallurgy technology parts. So I think starting up a mining operation like this is really, you need to be around in 360. I mean, you need to do everything. I mean, purchasing, selling, talking to investors, understanding the details of the technology, understand what can you do in the beneficiation plants and everything. So it's really a fun and challenging job to balance between the technology and the business side, the strategic side, and also the day-to-day operation. How do we get an office to work? How do we get IT infrastructures? I mean, it's a really super fantastic job, and as being a metallurgist and loving the iron and steel industry, I mean, to be part of restarting iron ore mining in this traditional region in Sweden, Bergslagen, I mean, that's super fantastic, challenging but super fun.
Yeah, let's take a longer term approach. What do you see as the biggest opportunity and the biggest risk for your company on the global iron ore market for the next, let's say, 5 years?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look into the opportunities, as I said, I mean, in Bergslagen there has been hundreds of iron ore mines, good iron ore mines in for historical reasons, but and most of them, or actually all of them, was closed down in the 70s and 80s due to the financial situation and the iron ore pricing, not because the ore is bad or has depleted or so. The long-term vision or plan is, of course, to restart several of these old mining areas in Bergslagen to bring the volumes up. I mean, like LKAB up north, they have several mines in operation. We are mining for the same kind of material. We have the same kind of processing. We have the same kind of end targets and everything. So I mean, I don't say that we're going to be like LKAB, but several mines, several beneficiation plants, several outputs of different feedstock. I mean, that's the long-term vision. So it's a huge opportunity to mine again in this area. Having said that, of course, there are risks, and I would say the main risk is in a startup mining operation, we don't have any cash flow. We are fully dependent on investors and lenders. And of course, investors and lenders might have different views on what is the long-term 5, 10, 15 years market looking like. I mean, 5 years in the mining industry is a very short horizon. I mean, we always talk about 10 to 25 years ahead. What are the pricing? What are the supply and demand? And are investors and lenders willing to invest in that kind of long term? And I see that really problematic. I mean, most of the Western investors and lenders have very, excuse the wording here, but short-sighted views. I mean, they want to see 1, 2, 3 quarters and then get a good return on the investment. They have learned that if you do a quick mobile app, you can earn the money in a year or so. So how come you need several years to bring the money back? But we have a 3.5, maybe 4 years of construction period where we are just consuming money to build the beneficiation, build the mine infrastructure, build the connection to the railroad, build the connection to the power grid and everything. So of course, there's a huge upfront capital investment that needs to be done before you reach the cash flow. And having said that complexity, then of course this kind of tariff debacle on and off, back and forth, the talk about the global recession, what will be really the steel demand in the next coming years. Of course, all those kind of short term, so to say, turbulence create investors and lenders to be very reluctant to invest in these kind of long-term projects. So I would say the biggest challenge is access to capital, since we are starting up and we are fully dependent on, so to say, someone else's money because we don't have any cash flow to bring the investment from.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on everything you said over here. It is very hard to start from scratch and find the financing and find the people who will back the project. But that brings me to my next question. Have you ever considered to go public?
We are actually public already. They listed, the company was listed 2018 when they brought in capital for the previous study that was done 2019 by Goldler Associate, and then Whittle Consultant did some optimization studies in 2020. But you know, when the pandemic struck in 2020, we lost a few years in the company in the development again. I mean, people were not willing to invest during the pandemic period, and then we had to handle the prolongation of some parts of the environmental permit, which we got approved in 2024. So now we are working full steam ahead again. So
Yeah, actually, correction from my question. Have you considered to go public on the other stock exchanges, bigger stock exchanges?
okay, yeah. No, Not really. I mean, I think of course, that's ultimately a question for the board, but I would say that we need to be a little bit more ahead in our development, so we can really go out and give a more firm timeline on when we are in production. I mean, so I would say that we need at least 1-2 more years before we can really consider doing dual listings. So yeah, not at this point in time.
Okay, you mentioned board, and we will conclude this interview with that's my final question. Who are the people behind the company? We met you. Who are the other members of the board and the technical side?
Yeah, I mean, in the board we have the long term. It has been mainly two different organizations being the main investors. I mean, that's Bengtssons Tidnings AB, which is a family office based on newspapers. So they sold off the old newspaper, and now they are managing their capital. There's also a Ludvika Holding, which is a couple of companies locally that are investing money. So they have been really in it for the long run. But when we did a capital raise last year, we got in Cargill. So Cargill is now the biggest shareholder in the company with 17%. We also got in Svelland Capital, a very well-renowned resource investment fund, UK Norwegian based. So of course, Bengtsson Tidning, they have a member of the board. Ludvika Holding, Cargill has one. We actually have for the local relationship also Tobias Hansson, the head of Hitachi Energy for Sweden. We have Bengt Nilsson as chairman since 2 years. A really seasoning steelwork guy, has been working for SSAB, Uddeholm and so forth. And the last new guy on board is Pierre Harrema, coming from Boliden and LKAB, retired from LKAB, I think, last year, 24 or 23. So we have a very good mix now of people from the local area, from the steel industry, from the mining industry, and also from investor side. So we are gearing up a very good board, I would say.
That's great to hear. That was Ronne Hamerslag, CEO of Nordic Iron. Ron, thank you for coming to the show, and I wish you luck going forward.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys.